So today's video, as you can probably tell, is the Q&A of buying a house. So I have got my computer here and I've written down all the questions that I was asked, because I put a couple of posts out on Facebook about doing this Q&A and just what people wanted to know. So I put out a post on Facebook and asked people what they wanted to know about buying a house, and obviously I have a bit of a story time, so this is going to be quite a lengthy video. I might have to cut it into 2 parts, I'm not certain yet until I get to finishing filming and the editing process. So if you see part 1, there will be a part 2 somewhere, so just so you know. Okay, so so if you watched my New Year's video, the first video of this year about resolutions and all that palaver, you'll know that I set a goal at the beginning of 2017 to move out, and it wasn't a target to move and buy a house, it was actually a target just to move out. So if it was going to be renting, that would be the case. However, I spent a long time searching for places to rent, and I also looked at places to buy. Now that was just one of those things that you do just because you want to see what houses are like in the area type thing. And I decided that I wanted to try and look at buying, wasn't certain if it was even a possibility. So what I did then was had a look at different sites. So there's like Money Supermarket, not Money Supermarket, is it called Money Super? Money Saving Expert. So it's what's his name? Martin Lewis, who does lots of tips about buying houses, saving money, all that sort of stuff. If you look on his, he has a mortgage guide on there, he has some tips and tricks, and I read like every single possible thing that was on his site about buying a house, about saving deposits, everything. I read it all. I researched checklists to see what people like wrote down as things that they were going to need for a house. I researched absolutely everything you can possibly think of that I thought was going to be relevant. So I looked at fees, what fees were going to come up. I looked at mortgage prices, that I just like did mortgage calculators, seeing like if I put my wage in and my partner's wage and all sorts of stuff like that to see what we would roughly get and all that sort of stuff. That was the first thing that I did. I then obviously stepped back and thought, can I actually do this? Because me and my partner were my partner was in a very different situation. He didn't need to move. He could stay at home. He had like he has like a really lovely family who he could just stay at home with. He was already at home. Me on the other hand, my mum was moving out of our hometown a bit further out. So for work convenience, it just wasn't convenient because I don't drive. There wasn't going to be enough bedrooms because she was moving in with her partner and his 2 kids, not permanent with his 2 kids. They were going to be there every at least once or twice a week. My brother, my little sister. So there was already going to be quite a few of them in the house, and the house that they were looking at just wasn't going to fit me in it basically, unless I had to share a room. And as you can see, well, you haven't seen yet, but with the house tour you'll see that it's probably near impossible for me to share a room with anybody, never mind a sibling who also has X amount of stuff. So me and my partner decided that something that we would like to do would be move in together. Obviously renting was the first point of call, and then we decided actually we wanted to look at buying. So with buying, the first thing, like I said, I did a lot of research, and I honestly must have printed out hundreds and hundreds of pages of paper with lists and checklists and information, and I sat and scrolled through it, highlighted things that were relevant, and I even typed up my own documents, taking things out of each one, so I had like my own document to understand things. So the first thing that I realised that was if we bought a house over £125,000, we would need to also pay a stamp duty fee, which is normally a percentage of what you are buying the house for, which can be sometimes a few £1,000s. It was always, so if it's £125,000 for the house, so even if it was only 2% of £125,000, it would be £2,500 straight away. That's just on a stamp duty. So that's only if it's 2%. It could be anywhere. I can't remember exactly. Because we didn't actually have to pay a stamp duty because we didn't buy a house over £125,000. But just bear that in mind. And I know that in London, if your house is over, it's higher than 125,000 because the house prices are so high there. 125,000 isn't their starting point, it's higher up, if you get what I mean. So we didn't have to pay that, so that's one fee that we didn't have to pay, but that is something that if you are looking at houses you might have to consider. So I'm just going to try and remember because a few people obviously asked me questions. I will try and insert little screenshots of people's... A lot of people asked how, that was the key question, which obviously I'm going to explain as I go along. Sort of this generic video will explain how, but yeah. So I think it's Sienna, I'm not sure, asked if, like, what were the steps to getting a mortgage, and she asked about any, I think it was her, somebody asked about any hidden fees. Jasmine Powell asked if there's any hidden costs, such as it's not as just as easy as buying a deposit and off you go. That is correct. So obviously some people think that you just buy the house, you save a deposit, you buy your house, end of. It doesn't work like that. So you have all different fees that can come up. It doesn't necessarily mean they will, it doesn't necessarily mean that they won't. And it will vary case to case per person, and it will all depend on like the price of your house, who you go with for your mortgage, and how much deposit you actually save up. So when we looked at mortgages, we looked at on sites and looked everywhere and did some comparisons, and we initially decided that we was going to go with the bank that we were with. So we're with Lloyds Bank, so that was who we was going with, and Lloyds Bank had an offer on where they paid your legal fees, you just had to pay your survey fees. So with that, your legal fees are things that you'd pay solicitor for, which can sometimes be a few £1,000s. We didn't have to pay that. The only thing we had to pay was £239, or was it £329? Something like that. We had to pay that to the bank, well, to our solicitors to do our survey. Or was that for the survey? That was just for the survey. So we paid that fee for the survey, which meant that somebody would come to the house that we wanted to buy. So the house that we put an offer in and had the offer accepted, they come to the house and they valued it. So they basically did everything. They looked at, like, if it was in a flood area, they looked at roofs, they looked up in the loft to see if it was insulated, they looked at the floorboards, they looked at the windows, and they wrote down, literally, it's like the nitty-gritty thing. And we thought, oh, this is going to be like a little booklet, which is like a couple pages long. Our booklet was about this big. This survey came back and we was like, what the heck? Because we didn't expect so much to be in it, and then you sat there thinking, I don't understand half of this, I don't even know what half of it means. So this was like one of the first times we actually got family and friends involved. We sort of like asked people what this meant, what that meant. Things like drainage and boilers and all sorts of things like that's in this survey, just for us to sort of understand it a bit more. So we decided to ask family and friends to give us a bit of a run through with it. This survey you pay for, and it comes back normally 2 weeks. It can come back before, but 2 weeks, maybe longer. But I think we got ours within a week or two. And this survey also comes with a valuation. So because a house is on the market for a price doesn't mean that the bank is going to lend you that price for the house. So with this house, it was up for £75,000, and we initially just said, yeah, we'll pay the £75,000. We won't go into why people don't agree with that, because a lot of people say undercut them, like going under, and you know, they'll accept your under offer and you'll save yourself some money. We was happy with the house. We knew that it was what we wanted. We walked in, we got the right feeling about it, and we just was like, we don't want to be like trumped by someone. We don't want someone to come in and put like £100 more than us and then they swipe the house because they just put 100. If we put what they're asking for it, they're more than likely going to say yes. So we put our offer in and we got the call back within 5 minutes accepting the offer. Now, that's when we then have the survey done after that. So the survey comes back and it's actually undervalued the house, meaning that the house is not worth, well, they're saying that the house is not worth £75,000. Therefore, the bank will not lend you £75,000. So we then had to rechange our offer, meaning we had to renegotiate with the sellers about what we was willing to pay for the house. This gets complicated when you are happy with the house, and the seller's happy with the price you've given, but you're not allowed to give it because the bank won't lend you the price that you want to give. So they actually valued the house at £70,000, which was £5,000 under what it was listed for, meaning that we thought we was pretty stumped for getting this house. We thought we was like no chance because they're not going to accept £5,000 below. So what we did, we actually, because we was in contact with the sellers, we actually came round one night and we just said, look, I don't know what you've heard, but we've been told it's undervalued. Here's a copy of the survey if you want to have a look through it. So we gave them a copy of the survey, they had a look through it, and then it was a bit quiet after that, and we was like, I don't think they're going to go anywhere, because we said we can't give you any more than £70,000 because we can't lend any more than that. We did later on say we will give you an extra £1,000, so it'll be £71,000. However, with our mortgage we're only lending £70,000, so we used £1,000 cash to give to them. And that was mainly because we got our sofas, cooker, fridge, freezer, washing machine all in as well with the price. So we said that we was happy to pay them £1,000 in cash, but it wasn't cash to them, it was on the mortgage. So our mortgage is still £70,000, but the deposit that we put down was an extra £1,000, meaning that we covered that extra £1,000. If you're not understanding, drop me a message or a comment and I'll try and re-explain it, because there's so many different bits. This is why I think this is going to have to be in like maybe 2 parts, maybe even 3. It is so complicated. So yeah.
So guys, that's it for now. I'm just putting the end clip here because I have had to split this filming into 2 sections. I hope you enjoyed this video and stay tuned for part 2.